Hello class, today we're going to take a look at some ordering questions for fractions, decimals, and mixed numbers. We're asked for the front side to order all of our numbers from least to greatest. Another way of saying this is ascending order. Ascending meaning going up from lowest to greatest. And of course we're going to write our answers using the original numbers. So the biggest thing that I think people have trouble with in this particular unit is kind of knowing where to start or what to convert into. So it's sort of a question of looking for what is easy to do. So in part A, I already have two numbers that are decimals. And if I look at this mixed number here, it's got a denominator of 10, so that's going to be really easy to convert to a decimal. This one doesn't have a denominator of 10, but it does have a denominator of 5. Which is really easy to multiply into a denominator of 10. So let's do that. 5 times 2 is 10, which is what I want if I'm going to make a decimal. 39 times 2, well, 40 times 2 would be 80, so 2 less than that is 78. And the reason I want to do that is because it allows me to easily write these as decimals. 5 wholes and 1/10 is 5.1. 78 out of 10 is 78 tenths, or 7.8. And my other ones already were decimals, so 4.6 and 3.8. From here, it's pretty easy to put them in order. So from lowest to greatest, 3.8 is going to be our first one, then 4.6, then 5 1/10, and then 39 fifths. And so we're going to write those in order. We're going to use the original numbers in our order. So we're going to say we've got our 3.8, then our 4.6, then our 5 1/10, and lastly our 39 fifths. Now this is a question where sure we can convert them, and that way we're absolutely confident in our answer. But if you just look at them, 3 of them we could order without doing any conversions, just based on their whole amounts, right? 4, 5, and 3 we're able to order. And so the only one that we really had to do something with was our 39 fifths. In our next question, we've got 7 fourths, we've got 2.2, we've got 27 twelfths, and we've got 3 1/5. So there's no kind of really obvious way of going about this question. I have one number that's a decimal already, and everything else it looks like is going to be easy to at least get to 100. 4 can't be made into 10, but it can be made into 100. 12 can't be made to 10 or 100, but we can simplify this fraction. I'm going to divide it by 3 to simplify it. So now that can be made into a fraction out of 100 as well. And we've got 3 1/5, which can be made into a fraction out of 10. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply by 2 to get 2/10, or rather 3 2/10 there. All right, so let's go ahead and think about this here. I'm going to multiply this by 25 times 25. And I'm going to go ahead and say that this is, well, actually 25 is a silly thing to do here. I know that this as a mixed number is 1 3/4, because 4 fourths is 1. And then I'd have 3 fourths left over to give me my 7 fourths in total. And I know that 3/4 is 7/5. This one's 2.2 already. I'm going to leave that as a decimal. This one is going to be 2 1/4. 2 being 8 fourths, and then 1 extra fourth there. So this is 2.25. And this one here is 3.2. So if we want to order that from lowest to greatest, lowest is going to be 1.75. Then we've got our 2.2, then our 2.25, and then our 3.2 last. So that one actually is already in order. So we can pretty much just copy it out. and that is from lowest to greatest. And our commas there, and label it our answer for good measure. Next one, this one's a little bit tricky. If I look, 6 on the bottom is not easy to write as a decimal because it does not multiply into 10, 100, or 1,000. I could long divide this one to convert it into a decimal, but it may be easier for me to compare these in fraction form. So if I just think quickly, I'm going to go ahead and first off simplify this fraction here. I'm going to divide top and bottom by 8 to get 2 1/2. 2.5 is 2 1/2, so we actually have 2 equal ones in this particular question. And then we need to go ahead and just deal with the 2/3 and the 21/6. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to long divide 21 by 6 to figure out my mixed number form. So 6 goes into 2 0 times, 6 goes into 21 3 times, creating 18. Taken away leaves us with a remainder of 3. So we'd say this is 3 3/6. And as a mixed number goes, we can simplify that into 3 1/2. So, of these ones, which one is smallest and biggest? We've got 2 equal ones, 2 1/2 and 2 1/2. Bigger than 2 1/2 is 2 2/3. 2/3 is 0.666, so a little bit bigger than a half. And then our largest one is our 3 1/2. So we're going to say 2 18, 8/16, excuse me, and 2.5 are our first two. Then we've got 2 2/3. Then we've got 3 1/2. On the back side there, let's work through a couple more questions. Some of these are very easy to convert into decimal. So 2/5 is 0.4. That's one of our memorized ones. 1 1/10 is 1.1. 0.5, 0.7, and let's multiply this one by 2 to get 6/10 or 0.6. So what is in order starting with the smallest? The smallest of those is 2/5, which was 0.4, then 1/2, which was 0.5, then 3/5, which was 0.6, then 7/10, which was 0.7, and then 1 1/10, which was 1.1. Question 2, we got 2.75. 11/12 is a trickier one as far as a decimal goes. You could say the same thing for 19/24. And for that reason, I'm actually not going to compare these ones as decimals. If I look at 4, 12, 24, 6, and 6, all of those can be made into 24. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply this one by... let's first off create an improper fraction. So 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11 out of 4. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create all of these with a denominator of 24. So I'm going to multiply by 6 to have a denominator of 24. This will be 66 out of 24. Then I'm going to multiply this one by 2 to create a denominator of 24. It will be 22 out of 24. This one already has a denominator of 24. This one I'm going to multiply by 4 to create a denominator of 24. And this one I'm going to also multiply by 4 to create a denominator of 24. Okay, so if I compare all of these, it's going to go 4 out of 24. Next, it will be 19 out of 24. Next, it will be 20 out of 24, 22 out of 24, and 66 out of 24. So if I read them out in order, it would be 1/6, 19 24ths, 5 6, 11 12ths, and 2 3/4. My answer. Alright, let's go ahead and do these ones here. These ones all have denominators of 2 or 3, which means they're really easy to write as decimals. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 2 and 1/2 is 2.5. 3 and 1/4 is 3.25. 15 quarters, 12 quarters would be 3. So 3 and 3 extra quarters is 3.75. And then 11 halves, 10 halves would be 5. And then an extra half is 0.5. So ordering those from lowest to greatest, 2 and 1/4 goes first. Then it would be 6 and 1/2. Sorry, 6 halves, excuse me. Difference there. 3 and 1/4 is next. 15 quarters would be next, and then 11 halves last. All right. Okay, almost everything in number 4 can be easily written as a decimal. I'm going to skip this middle one here because that is our only problem child. 20 out of 25, we're going to multiply by 4 to get 80 out of 100. And this one here is 102 out of 100. Multiplying top and bottom by 2. So, I have a couple here that are less than 1. This one, and this one are less than 1. One of them that's just slightly over 1. And this one I haven't converted into anything yet, but I know it's a lot bigger than 1. 12 out of 12 would be 1. So 39 out of 12 is going to be a lot bigger than 1. So I'm not actually even going to do anything to it. I just know that's the biggest one. So what is my smallest? 7/10 is my smallest. Next, I'm going to have 75 out of 100. Next, I'm going to have 80 out of 100. Next, I'm going to have 102 out of 100. And then lastly, this guy here is going to be a lot out of 100. So I'm not even going to deal with it. I just know it's the biggest. So going from smallest to largest is 7/10, then 75 100ths, then 20 out of 25, then 51 50ths, and then 39 12ths. Oops. Alright, 9 divided by 3 is 3, so that one's easy. 17 out of 20 is less than 1. I'm going to multiply it by 5 to make it into a fraction. 17 times 5 is 35, plus 5, 8. 3/10 is 0.3, 3/4 is 0.75, 4/5 is 0.8. So let's go ahead and order those. Smallest is 0.3. Next smallest is 0.75. Next smallest is 0.8, 0.85, and 3. So we go 3/10, smallest, 3/4, second smallest, 4/5, then 17 20ths, and then 9/3. And our last one here, if I look, I can convert everything to a denominator of 16. So I'm just going to do that and not even bother with decimals. Alright, so smallest to largest, I'm going to have 6 out of 16 as smallest. Then next I'm going to have 7 out of 16. Next I'm going to have 12 out of 16. Then 14 out of 16. And lastly 17 out of 16. So 3/8. Next is 7/16. Next is 3/4. Next is 14/16, and next is 17/16. So that is a bunch of ordering questions. Hopefully you can see some of the different approaches and thought processes we use. Again, remember that you don't necessarily have to convert everything to be able to work your way through a question. Here, for example, 39/12 is difficult to convert to either a fraction or a decimal, but we didn't even need to because we just know it's a lot bigger than all the other options. Okay, so keep that in mind as you work through your questions.